Hello everybody, welcome to, of course I am talking about this movie, Point 5, Episode 13, Failure, Point 20. Today I am talking about 2020's Mulan, Disney's latest failure of making a movie that is even redeemable in any way that is supposed to be capturing the magic of these original animated movies from the 90s. Now, Mulan is an interesting example where it's much worse than I probably am able to show it to you or demonstrate, because the only way for you to get the full picture of how utterly incompetent everything is to watch the full picture. This movie has so many things wrong with it. There's not one aspect of the movie, superficially speaking, visually speaking, auditorily speaking, or in the writing, that I can think of that there isn't just a ton of failures, incompetence, laziness, and just overall just bad. It's kind of impressive of how bad this movie actually is. Let's not forget that this movie already has a bunch of things that he has to get over, like the fact of all the mishaps behind the scenes, like the main actress being really cool with police brutality. That's a thing that happens and she hasn't apologized, and she never will, because otherwise she would never be able to work in China again. This is a movie that is painfully, obviously going, please, China, love us. Please, China, give us your money. Disney needs that market share from China so their investors find more reasons to keep buying Disney stock. We can capture the Chinese market. Sure, Star Wars failed in every way to do that, but maybe with Mulan, maybe we'll succeed then. And I don't think with a quality like Mulan, they will succeed. For this video, I'm gonna take things slow and I'm gonna break this thing into parts, because just like an autopsy is important to separate the liver from the heart to learn what killed the patient. But hey, let's just talk about one thing at a time. So let's start with... This movie has a total of 2 characters that I can claim are indeed, maybe, kind of, technically speaking, characters. Those being Mulan and the witch. Those are the only 2 people in the movie that I can say maybe kind of have a goal and aspirations. They have one dimension, maybe half. Everybody else, literally every single other person in the movie that isn't Mulan or this witch lady, they're as deep as air. You can probably phase through every single person in this movie. I'm surprised this is not a supernatural picture, because everybody is as thick as ghosts. Truly is almost amazing about how utterly pointless and forgettable every other side character is in the movie. So let's start with our main actress, the lead person, the main gal, Mulan.
She's a brilliant actress. But that was only one part of the equation.
She is utterly terrible. There is nothing about her performance that gives me anything to work with. The main actress seemed to have had too much of an ego to show any emotion besides trying to be fierce and smiling. I wouldn't call that joy, and I wouldn't call it fierce, because her fierce face, her battle-hardened face, seems to be completely disinterested and bored throughout the entire movie.
She's a brilliant actress.
It's really nice to see how the actress couldn't be bothered to even cry by putting a little bit of eye drop in her eyes. It's just literally a blank slate. You could have put just a paper bag in front of her with a little face drawn on it, and would have been probably a better acting job than the main actress was able to do. I'm out of words to describe her character, almost like there's no words to describe her character, because there is almost none to be found, except maybe bored and overall uninterested. Oh well. If I was told that she was falling asleep throughout the whole thing, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like somebody just slipped her some Valium and told her to act, because she seems to lack every single emotion of a human. And the same thing goes for the witch.
An epic vision.
She barely plays any role in the story that couldn't have been written out by some not even clever writing, just writing in any way. Because when they wrote this movie, they seem to have given as much thought as whatever you do in the morning that you forget immediately once you got up. Do you remember what you did? Probably not, because you did it in an automatic way. And yeah, the writing in this movie seems fairly automatic, passionless, and you would forget about it as soon as you pay any attention to it whatsoever. Everybody else, the new version of Shang from the original, according to the movie makers, because if I wasn't told that, I would never for the life of me know the fact that her love interest and the general were supposed to be anything besides Z characters. They were just the backdrops to Mulan's awesomeness and how cool she is at all times. If you cut them out and just replace them with random person that trains her and random guy that she fights with, well, that's kind of what they are already. The movie wouldn't change one bit. I guess the only other character I can even remember in the top of my mind is the dad, and the dad's only role in the movie is to say honor as many times as he can get away with for the 15 minutes he's in the movie.
Your job is to bring honor to the family.
So if you want to actually have a good time watching this movie, I suggest the drinking game of drink every time they say honor or dishonored. Now, this is the easy version of the drinking game. If you really want to get blasted and drunk out of your mind, drink every time they say honor or honor standing like duty or fate or any other synonym for honor. You will get drunk as a kite and you will probably black out as soon as the movie ends the first act. Now, with the characters out of the way, I truly can't paint you more of a picture than that. They are nothing. They are as stale as bread being left out in the sun for 14 days. Did you know Jet Li is in the movie?
Crush these murderers, Your Majesty. Crush these.
You probably didn't, and even if you watched the movie, you probably didn't even notice he was there. That's how useless everything is. Everything is about how awesome Mulan is at doing a flip. Also, something that I forgot to mention about the witch character, I'll just put it here because who cares about her? She has a complete 180 for no reason. She decides that she's good now and she sacrifices her life for Mulan. Why does the witch sacrifice herself for Mulan? Who knows? There's no reason that justifies that in the movie. The scene prior, she was saying that she wanted to be empress. Now she's willing to die. So with writing comes plot, premise, and other stupid things related to dialogue. The plot of the movie is, do you know how in the original Mulan sacrifices her family's trust, maybe even her life, to go serve in a war to save her family? Yeah, no, nothing about that is even related or close to being in the movie.
My father cannot fight, so I will take his place.
Which brings me to the premise. Is it about honoring your family and your name to save the emperor? Or is it just saving your family in general? Or is it 3, which is be true to yourself, which I'm guessing is 3 because they literally say it a few times in the movie in as subtle of a way as being hit by a jackhammer. But you know, it's nice to get a few bones crushed when listening to dialogue in a movie.
Loyal, brave, and true.
Being true to yourself, you would think that maybe 80% of the way through the movie, she finally learns that lesson and decides that she has to become Hua Mulan to fight the witch and conquer her fear of not being truly herself. No. This movie is about 2 hours long, and exactly almost at the halfway point, Mulan just tells everybody, literally everyone, spoilers by the way, that she is a lady. Also, not spoilers, they showed that in the trailer and it was as unbelievable as it is in the actual movie. So Mulan comes out and says, yo guys, I am a lady, but it's cool. I can use chi and I can do flips and stuff. So chi in this movie is essentially the force. It allows them to do the wire fu stuff, which seems unnecessary. They could have just gone for the Chinese fantasy kung fu style and didn't have to explain the fact that people doing wire fu is something that is not a reality in the universe. Chi is completely unnecessary and almost defeats the purpose of Mulan being Mulan because she works towards it. Literally in the movie, she is berated for trying. She's told that she should stop trying to work as hard as others because she was born with a gift. She is the chosen one, so she doesn't have to try as hard. This is pretty much verbatim. Sure, they don't say it as, out loud or in those specific words, but it would be hard not to read that into the way that the line is delivered. Also, in the movie, we have characters saying, haha, women, am I right? Those girls can't do anything a man can. And also, if you talk or even bring a woman to camp, your punishment is death. Maybe this is the point of the movie, that there are actual consequences to the sacrifice Mulan does. But it's okay because literally every character, even the ones that make no sense, absolutely love Mulan because she can do cool flips and stuff. Did you see the way she did that flip? Wow, I like her now. She can do a flip. That's a character. This movie lacks so much consequences, it's almost impressive. For the rest of the writing, I guess my problem is as I said, it's not subtle in any way. We'll have several lines of dialogue hitting you over the head and all over your body like you're own the mafia money. Mulan is not as good as people and she should know her place. Be invisible. Ah, you should be a good woman. You're no man. Sorry, I'm not your son. Ah, man, good job, Mulan. Now that you are a man, you are being rewarded for the things you would have been punished for as a woman. These people are backwards and don't like women. Whoops, Mulan is a woman now and everybody knows? Everybody loves women all the time and they always respected them. Was that a jarring cut into the editing? Did you want me to abruptly cut something that seemed like it was unfinished? Did that seem out of place, out of character, and just overall kind of annoying to your eye? Oh, whoops, sorry, I was just getting inspiration from this gigantic movie that seems to have as amateurish of editing as actual YouTube videos. This movie can't even edit montages right. The art of the montage has been perfected since Rocky. Every movie, the only thing you have to do a montage right is watch Rocky and do the exact same thing. Change the music and just change the character and you won't be sued. It's fine. But this movie can't even do that right. Montages are almost completely unnecessary by the way that they're edited, because usually a montage is used to show a long progress of time, but because of the way that they are edited, they are rushed through, therefore making it seem like no time has passed, therefore making the montage incredibly pointless. At the beginning of the movie, as soon as she leaves her home, ready to become a man, Mulan has this little montage of her failing to do things. But because the movie doesn't want Mulan to ever do anything wrong ever, this montage is incredibly rushed through and also interrupted by a thing that could have been done in narration. She is interrupted between her montage of failure with her dad just saying random things that sound kind of deep, but not really, because he has to say things in which they can put in the trailer.
Your job is to bring honor.
Because if there aren't any lines that you can take away from this movie, all that they can promote is the absolutely terrible looking, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, that seemed out of place, just like the editing. There are actual times in the editing where it seems like there is a scene out of place. There's a point where Mulan is having a flashback, but there's no transition cut or color change to emphasize that is a flashback in any way. It looks like a scene out of place, it feels out of place, and I am almost believing is out of place. Truly, there are an overload of footage in this movie. Every single scene, every single interaction, any action has way too many camera angles for absolutely no reason. An action that could have taken 1, 2, maybe 3 shots, or just one shot that is well choreographed needs 6, 7, 8 cuts just because, you know, we couldn't be bothered to teach our actors how to interact among each other. There are actual mistakes in the continuity in this $200 million movie. There is a scene where a character is across a room sitting down, and when they cut to the next scene, the character is in the other side of the room standing up and shaking somebody's hand. He just teleports around like it's nobody's business. Maybe he used chi, I don't know, chi's the way, chi's everything. Can Mulan do a flip? Mulan can do a flip, look at her go. Oh, what an awesome flip. The editing feels so incredibly rushed. It's unbelievable. This is like the visual representation of a run-on sentence. As soon as it starts, there's no punctuation anywhere to give you a sense of a pace and purpose. They will just rush into the next scene, and the next scene being rushed, it will rush into another, snowballing into a complete and utter mess by the halfway point. It feels like you've watched a full movie and there's apparently something else that's gonna happen and you're just going, what is going on? Why is this movie moving so fast? It never stops for anything. And by that I mean, you know how in the animated Mulan they had the decency and just the brains to include a very important moment of her life where she decides to become a man and cuts her hair and sets herself up and goes into the army?
You took your father's armor.
That scene is completely missing from this movie. That is one of the most important moments for her character. Her decision to abandon her life as she knows it, to become a man and fight in a war that she might die. The movie's decision to do this scene is to entirely avoid it like the plague. They just cut it out and have her already dressed as a guy going to the war. I guess I'll go to the war because I have magic, so who cares? Every single action and effect that the editing could create by having some impact is completely lost because no scene leads to another. They just run into another and fumble their way through. Let's talk about the look of Mulan. The reason why Disney keeps making these live action movies. I barely can say that word because it just looks so fake. This movie is dated by the day that it got out. Every single special effect in this movie looks like it was made 10 to 20 years ago. The overuse of CGI in this movie is absolutely ridiculous and almost completely unnecessary at points. You have $200 million. You can buy a country with that much money and still you just refuse to use any sort of good practical effects. There are points that they have to CGI little sparks on swords for reasons that boggle my mind beyond imagining. It's so unnecessary. This has been a thing since I don't even know. You can go back into maybe 60s, 50s, and even 40s, and they were able to make sparks from swords by just putting something that was slightly flammable or slightly sparky in the goddamn swords. It's not rocket science. Just use props, you absolute maniac. You're wasting so much of your budget for nothing. It looks like trash. Trash. Poo-poo land. It looks like poo. I don't want to touch it. I don't even want to look at it. And when I look at it, it makes me ill. There are points in the movie where they try to use the CGI to make the sky, the backdrop, look like it was somewhat based on the animation, like it's purple or something. But because of the weird, gritty realism of this fantastical land and the color palette, it looks like utter garbage. There is no backdrop, there is no prop, there is no costume, there is no makeup, there's nothing visually in this movie that looks like it earned its budget. The witch's outfit, look at it. This is not the cheapest Halloween costume you can buy, but you probably can buy something that looks weirdly similar for like $70. It's truly impressive how cheap everything looks. The Phoenix. Oh my god, the Phoenix. I run out of words. I don't have enough synonyms to throw at you. Adjectives won't do me any good. They do everything in their power to be as lazy as possible to make this movie look good. You know that really cool shot that lazy people use all the time to make their character look cool? They do this in the movie, and everybody's making fun of it because they should. It doesn't look good. It's just the laziest possible thing you can do to try and make your shot look like it's meaningful. It doesn't mean shit. It looks like shit. That's what you achieved. You have achieved nothing. There is nothing in this movie that excuses that big of a budget for this terrible of a result.
An epic vision.
They try to make reimaginations of the original soundtrack, but they make the most forgettable soundtrack ever made. I cannot think of, or even notice when the music starts. It could be environmental noises and I wouldn't be able to tell. Oh boy. It's such a miscarriage of an idea. Everything they had in the original, they did worse in this one. Mulan, not a character. The visual spectacle of an animated movie, not there at all. Don't spend $30 in a movie that they seem to have spent 3 minutes making. Okay, this movie tries to have comedy bits, comedy scenes, and jokes. I don't know what they were trying to do. Every single time that a comedy scene starts, it feels like you're watching a completely unrelated movie. I don't understand why they're there. They don't feel like they're from this movie. They come in at the movie at the most unexpected times and they leave just as suddenly. The scene prior and the scene after the comedy scene are completely unrelated. You can completely cut it out and the movie would probably be better.
Quiet.
What? Why? How? And who put this in this movie? What the hell happened? The comedy, none of it is funny. None of it is smartly written. Just like the dialogue, writing, and everything else about it feels wrong and is so much on the nose, you might get a nosebleed and a fracture. There's not that many scenes of comedy, but when they're there, holy God, does it feel like somebody desperately trying to infuse some life into the movie. They failed desperately. I don't even know if I should say they tried, but I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know what they were trying to do with the movie. I don't know what they were trying to do with the changes that they made. I don't know what they were trying to make me feel in the action scenes. I truly can't tell what they were even trying to achieve. Mulan is a waste of time. Mulan is a mistake, Mulan is not a reboot, and Mulan is barely a Mulan movie. It doesn't understand the original, it doesn't understand the poem, it barely understands itself. I don't know what the premise was supposed to be, because I can't really tell if it's truly about being true to oneself. If you do my drinking game, you have a much better time. I ran through a bottle of wine and at least it made me feel something. Buzzed, it wasn't because of the movie, it was because of the booze. I can't believe, I refuse to believe that the budget went mostly to the movie. Don't give this movie money, don't even give it a thought. This movie will be forgotten, maybe only remember of how much of a terrible mistake it truly was. It fails in every single way, and it doesn't do anything right. That's it, that's Mulan.